Hello everybody and welcome. My name is Vicki Haspels, and if it's 8:30 Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time, then it must be time for the Heart's Journey Show with me, Vicki Haspels. Now, we've had a big day today because it's been the Spiritual Events Directory Virtual Expo, and I had a booth today, so I've been online all day with you. So what I thought I might do, rather than do my usual interview, I'll still have my weekly forecast. That's on the little video that I'm going to show you. But what I've done is I've put together a couple of highlights of my shows today, because it ended up being a bit of a theme through everything, and I thought I might share some of the highlights. There'll be the weekly forecast, there will be a couple of snippets of the Tarot for Self-Development and Manifesting 101, and then a big last section on how we get creative and how we can be inspired. So I'm going to share the screen with you because I'm going to try this out. This is a new thing for me. And I'm going to start the show, and I hope you enjoy. Hi everybody, and welcome to this week's Heart Journey Show. My name is Vicki Haspels. Normally what I do is I usually have an interviewer, somebody to interview, like a friend or a new friend, and we discuss by supporting you. Tarot deck that I interpret those cards for us to give us a little bit of a clue of the energy that's influencing us this week, and that's week commencing the 9th of November. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is stimulating video. So we're going to see what's going on, what energy is influencing me, influencing you, and just, so we can have a bit of a heads up about how we're responding and how we're reacting and where we're actually heading. So the first card, I don't even know what's going on either, so it'll be a surprise for me too. The first card is the Eight of Swords, not one of my favourite cards. So this is where I'm at, where you're at, and the energy that's surrounding us this week. So this is a card, I'm just going to tune into the particular energy for this card rather than the actual typical meaning, because that has... So there is a sense around us this week where we are really going to be sorting out what is our responsibility and what's not our responsibility. For too long, we have been letting outside influences pull us back and forth, and really it has no bearing on our past, on our decisions, and really on our life. But we have been allowing those in. I think that it's been an unconscious allowing in, and now we are actually seeing it for what it is. So it's going to be very much highlighted around that the people and the circumstances that are really taking your attention away from your life, that have nothing to do with anything to do with you, but they're used to you giving them attention are going to be really dragging on you this week and dragging on me too. So I'm not really looking forward to that because that's not my fun part. However, it's always going to be brought up for clearing, right? So the next thing we're going to be looking at is what universal or global energy is influencing us week. So we're looking at how the universe is actually supporting us and what energy are they bringing to this party. So let's have a look. Oh, the Page of Pentacles. So, all right, so this means that there is something, it's about establishing, I want to say straight away, establishing a new regime around us. So we have something that we want to forge forward in the world on our own 2 feet, on our own way. It is very much in the planning or early stages. So the idea hasn't quite formed yet, but we know that deep down inside of us, we want our own time back. So if you think about if other people have been taking our time and not stealing it from us, we've been giving it to them willingly, but we've tangled ourselves up in it so much that we really don't know how to extract ourselves. We're going to get so sick of it that we're just going to say, enough, I really need this time for myself, because universally our soul is getting us ready. It's preparing the ground because there's a new idea, a new way forward that's actually going to nurture us and bring us either physical wealth or energetic wealth or even health wealth. I quite like the health wealth part of it. So what is energy is blocking and challenging us? I love this card. It is the card of contentment and peace, of emotional happiness. But if we're looking at it as a challenge, I would say that we just don't want to be moved out of our comfort rut. So it's interesting that the talks that we talk that I'm going to show you after this weekly forecast are all about how to move ourselves forward and how to shut down that critical mind. The part of us that wants us to stay in our rut, that wants to stay in our comfort zone, even if it is not very comfortable, anything new, any new path, which is what is being shown to us at the moment. This is a very undefined path as well. So it's a tricky situation in that we don't really have anything to latch onto, but the universe is preparing us for it, right? We have to be clear and clean in order to harvest that and nurture it and make it grow. So it's about moving us out of our comfort zone and what we consider to be our contentment space or our happy place. Doesn't mean to say that our happy place is not our happy place, but we've sat there long enough now. It's time to move on. And sometimes there's a bit of a shove that has to be pushed us out. Hence the discomfort around those around us, that we built that sort of framework around us. Now, what is our response going to be? They're going to withdraw. They're going to actually say, you know what? I need this energy for myself, so therefore I'm going to pull away. There is a sense of blame or a little bit of victimization around that as well. So if you're feeling the tug and pull of those around you, where it's like a framework that has been created over this new year. Now you're now deconstructing or actually realizing the only response that you can have is basically no contact. But you also have to work through that whole thing. Look, it's your fault that I got to this space, and actually coming to the realization that we ourselves created it because it was a comfort zone, right? So we're breaking down that comfort zone. We're working through the fact that it's everyone else's fault or that fault or this fault. And in the holding it because we need it for ourselves. All right, so what's our future? Oh, I love this. Look at this card. Our future is a creative idea. So I talked to you before that we didn't know what our creative idea was going to be. Now it's going to come to the fore. So we are very kind to ourselves and extract ourselves from those difficult situations, work through the thing like such and such fault. It's your fault that I'm here. When really we co-created that. We have to step into that new idea. And now this isn't like let's go rushing into it. This is where that idea pops in. It's that idea that says, you know what, this is actually the way forward that I want to go. So this requires a little bit of planning, and it is a way forward that it's not something that you build, and it's not something that you get all this energy and like, yeah, rah. It is very deliberate, and it is very constructive, and it requires steps, and that's what the Ace of Swords is telling me about. So we're going to get to plan something new, but the idea is going to be there to move us forward. It is not going to be something obscure. So that's really good. Really good. All right. So what is the spiritual meaning behind this? It's about letting go of the past. So the way that we used to do things no longer serves us. We're getting a good dose of that in that old framework of what doesn't serve us anymore. Because we're getting a big dose, our soul is letting go of old patterns of behaviour, old belief systems, and old ways of doing things. We are going to be just uncomfortable in our comfort zone, so much so that we want to get out of it. And the reason or the energy that the universe is providing us to get us out of that situation is to say there's something new that you have to be clear that. We're also going to be holding our energy for ourselves. We're going to build our reserves up so that we can launch that new regime or that new pathway. Our spiritual self is letting go of the past. The past that's been holding us back, and it's time to let go of that. So if you know of any past life meditations to help your soul move through that, or I think I've got some old past life work-throughs on my Expo page. I might try and track them down and put them up on my Facebook page for you, or even my YouTube studio as well, channel. And you can access that, and I'll advertise that in the comments part of this video. But it's good that we're leaving that past part of us behind, because we don't need it anymore. And we're so ready for something fresh and something new that it's worth that bit of discomfort just to say, oh, yes, break free of old patterns of behaviour and step into that new venture. It's like our mind is going to go, oh. So I'll leave that with you. Thanks for joining me. I am now going to add on some videos from today, and that actually ties in very nicely about how you can access that creative part of you and how you can recognise and work with it within yourself. I think that I will also have an extended version available on my YouTube page. I'm just going to splice together some snippets so that you can get a sense of what happened today. And the extended version will certainly be on my YouTube video and also on my Facebook page. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I will be joining you online because I'm going to set this as a pre-recorded video, but please jump online with your comments because I can answer you in real time. It's just that I can't be in person online tonight, but I will be back live next Sunday at 7:30 with the guest interviewee, and we'll be having some fun and talking all things spiritual. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. With love from me to you, my name is Vicki Haspels. My website is vickyhaspels.com. Comment, come and see me. Love videos tomorrow. Love readings tomorrow, I should say. And anyway, have a great week. Thank you so much. Enjoy. And then I'm just going to give a demonstration. So you're going to do a reading for yourself, and then I'll do a reading for you based on the same card. And what I'm going to do is I'd just like you to, I'm going to ask you to do a reading from one card, looking at all the elements of the card. And I'm just going to ask you, first of all, Casey, when you look at this card, what's the first thing that you notice?
The stairs, actually, stepping up.
The stairs. So are the stairs going up or going down? Do you see that?
Going up to me.
Mm-hmm. So when you think about going up the stairs, is that a difficult thing for you in your own self, in your concept?
Not really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of in the middle.
In the middle, yeah.
slowly going up the stairs, not too quick going up the stairs type thing.
So it's like a nice even pace, is that right?
Yeah.
So you're not driving yourself and you're not rushing up the stairs. So your perception at the moment is, how would you say that? Sorry, I was just going to do the reading. I want you to do the reading. So when you look at that for yourself, what does this is? Just tell me.
Oh, you were just breaking up then. I didn't hear that bit.
Oh, sorry. When you look at the card, what message are the stairs giving you?
To rise up, to keep going forward.
Mm-hmm. And is that rise an easy rise or a difficult rise?
Slightly difficult.
Mm-hmm. And those stairs feel difficult for you, do they?
They don't feel difficult taking the step. It's probably taking too many steps at once.
So I would like to, I'm going to unpack a few of those things because I would like you to listen to, there are two narratives going on here. There's what you're telling yourself and what's being reflected to you in the card. So this is where my part comes in. So you reflected to me that these stairs look even and it's not hard and it's not easy to get up those stairs. So it's quite even travel. It's up rather than going down. And that it is so that to me is a rise. So you see it as it's going to take as long as it takes. You're not being pushed and you're not being dragged, but you're definitely heading up. But your language is telling me that you are trying to push yourself somewhere that you think you need to be. I would say, that tuning into your energy, even when you're talking to me, as you're interpreting the meaning of the steps there, the message that you're reflecting to me is that you can feel the rise, you can feel the stepping up. However, you're not really sure if you're doing it right. You're not sure because you're telling me that you need to do it. You need to, whereas when you reflected on the card, you said to me already that it was just a nice even upwards rise. So can you see where your mind narrative is taking you and where the card is reflecting to you what the actual message is? I never really liked the word manifestation. I always think that it is something that requires a bit of bargaining between you and the powers that be, whatever that means. And so I always question it and I talk to my guides about it. And when I started experiencing changes in my world or my life where all of a sudden what I was considering began to turn up, I did the observation thing and I had a look at how it was all working and came to my own conclusion. So I thought I'd like to share that in a brief talk today about manifesting and how you can make that work for you. I came across a great book called It Works by R.H. Garrett, and I do share it a lot because it's available as a PDF online. It's only like a short 24-page book, really simple to read, but I suppose the idea behind it and the energy behind it really does work. And I'm saying this because I applied it to my own life. I experimented with it. So I experienced it, came across the book a few years later, and I thought, this articulates exactly what I went through. So then I experimented with it, and so now I actually share it with people. I wanted to just go through quickly the outline of it, and I just want to add a few bits to it, like a few parts to it that are relevant, that I think are relevant to the whole process. So for a start, let's not call it manifesting. Let's call it, because manifesting in the traditional sense, like especially with all the new age information that's been out there over the last couple of years, that requires a certain amount of, as I said, bargaining with either the spirit world, with your soul. It's very much like, if I do this, will you give me that? And if you don't get what it is that you are working so hard to try and create, and what Russian says, it was your fault, you weren't worthy enough, you weren't healed enough, you didn't hold your tongue right. Maybe you didn't dance naked in the moonlight, cutting off the head of a chicken. I don't know. I just got very, I suppose, not tired, but I just got a little bit. I suppose maybe the word is tired. I just was over the whole. It was my fault because I couldn't make it happen. But it wasn't that anyone else was telling me that. It was I was telling that to myself. But when I did talk to some spiritual advisors, they would toe that same line because they really didn't have an answer for me. The questions I was asking, or I suppose the way I was finding to look at the energy, the way I understood the energy was working when I went to my spiritual advisors or my mentors or my teachers. Not all of them. Some of them there was a little bit of pushback with me, and I thought that wasn't really fair because it's not. I was doing all those things that I knew were the right things for me. So anyway, what I decided to do, I let it all go. Didn't do the whole manifesting. But when, as I said, when that certain events started appearing in my life, and then all of a sudden they would work themselves out and move forward. And then I came across the book. I wanted to share the steps with you, and I wanted to share the philosophy behind it and the energy behind it. So the book, It Works by R.H. Jarrett, talks about a simple 3-step process, I think it is, in order to get to the bottom of what it is that is your heart's desire. And because it's a doing thing, it makes it so much easier to feel like that you're participating, because you are, as a soul, you are participating. So let's start with my take. This is let's start with the actual program. So this is really simple. Step 1, you write a list of things that you desire. You make that list as extensive as you want, as general as you want, or as specific as you want. When you do that, you can go back and revisit that list at any time. You can redo it, you can cull it, you can add to it, whatever it is that you like. Make sure that you write down what it is that you desire. The next step is that you look at that list, you keep it somewhere, and you look at it in the morning and in the night. And the third part of that list, or that little instruction, is that you talk to nobody about what's on your list of things to do. So I just want to unpack that whole process. And as I said, I have my own spin on what goes on with that because, as I said, I've experienced it. So I can just put it all together. Number 1, let's start right at the beginning. When we finally desire something, when we think, if I head towards that, my life is going to be complete. I can feel it in the bottom of my soul. If we start on that quest of wanting to manifest something, in our minds, because we have been conditioned to believe that if we want something, we have to work hard for it and we must do something in order to receive it. That's our perception of the process. We think, okay, well, I would like that. How do I get towards that? And of course, making plans to head towards a specific goal is definitely well worth doing it because you are participating in it. What happens though when that goal starts to tarnish? Or what happens if that goal starts to not make any sense anymore? Or what happens if every time you do all those steps, the goal that you are heading towards goes further and further away? Down. Be inspired and calm the critical mind. So it seems to be a bit of a theme today. I didn't mean it for it to be a theme, but it turned out to be a bit of a rolling theme throughout my talks today. And this is like the last part of it, the last piece of the puzzle about what it means to connect to your own wisdom, what it means to build your relationship to yourself, and how to be your own best friend, and how that makes you such a strong person that nothing can really knock you down, and no one else can come in and make you doubt those messages that you're getting from your soul and the spirit world in your guides and so forth. So we're going to talk about
being inspired and calming the critical mind, there are two tools that were introduced to me that help with, I'm going to split them up into two. They're going to help calming the mind and how to be inspired. So let's talk about first calming the critical mind. Just like this is my brushstroke knowledge of how the mind works. It's just like a little interpretation of from what I've read. I'm just going to put it together into something really, really simple. Is that we evolved our survival mind. Sorry, we evolved that survival mind, or from that, because we no longer need that. It's not as critical as it used to be. Once upon a time when we were entering into new areas, we needed to be really on high alert and to use all of our senses, all of our intuition to interpret our landscape. And part of that primitive or critical mind was designed to keep us alive. It's survival. And that is part of our evolution. That survival mind, or that critical part of us, is still active within us. And when we are feeling a little bit low, or when we are entering into a new situation, that critical mind will become quite loud, and it becomes the only voice in the room. It has been described as the liar. So when we're talking about the messages that we receive, body, mind and spirit, the intuitive messages that we receive, like in our dream times or from the spirit world, when it comes through us as a rush or a feeling, or that you hear that auditory that's outside of yourself, you know that that's coming from the spirit world, because it is quite distinct from the chatter in the mind, and it comes with a sense of feeling. So you really can't deny that message. When it comes through the body, it comes through as illness or a sense of dis-ease. I'm going to say dis-ease, not the in the sense of disease, but an unease in the body. The body feels twitchy, it feels uncomfortable, it feels anxious. And how we interpret that is what the mind does. Now, the mind part of us, because it's the loudest and it has the best vocabulary, that's the one that we generally listen to first, because it usually gets in first. It is, as I said, designed to keep us safe. It is designed to stop us from going into something new when we haven't actually discovered what's in there. And even when we have done something and we have gone into that space and we do know what it is, it requires courage to enter into that space again, especially when it challenges us as people, and the newness around personal growth is what the survival mind wants to challenge all the time, because once we move away from our current situation and our current way of thinking, the survival mind kicks in and wants to stop us from moving forward. It's keeping us safe. That's its job. The sophisticated part of us these days, though, knows how to override that survival mind, because it has life experience. It has read books. It has retained knowledge, and it also has retained the knowledge of other people's experiences as well. So there is plenty of evidence out there to say that when we are trying something new, it's not going to hurt us, because there are people who have gone before us. And even if it is new, brand spanking new, we are still doing it with knowledge and tools that we have gained through our life experience. The primitive mind, or that survival mind, does like because that means, or it used to mean, death. So it will always make you stop and doubt your decision about putting one foot in front of the other. Now, we don't really need it as much as we used to. However, it is still a desirable thing, because it does warn us when we're heading into something new to make sure that we are taking care. However, the signals and the messages have become quite garbled, and we've lost our way when it comes to that. We want to bring in the body, mind and spirit as a whole and make a holistic connection to our soul, so that we can come from a place of strong relationship, as well as a strong, supportive, nurturing atmosphere for our spirit self as well, like our soul self in our journey. So how do we manage that critical mind? There is a program called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. It's a book, 12-step program. She's written it out as a book, like a self-paced self-help book. And there is a preparation that she recommends called the morning pages. Now, she has a fabulous explanation about the critical mind and about the lies that it tells and how it interacts with our creative self and how it shuts down the creative self. The morning pages are simply before you start your day, you write down 3 pages of your thoughts. You're not journaling. You are not writing down an expression of your dreams or what you hope to happen for you for today or anything like that. You are simply emptying the fragmented thoughts that are running around in your head that you would normally deal with on a day-to-day basis, and we don't even realise how much they actually impact on us in that very real sense. By writing them down, and I'm talking about things like, I don't know what to write, this is rubbish, my foot hurts, and all that sort of, that really sort of just monkey mind stuff that rattles around in there. I don't really like blah, blah, blah. Then the next thought might be, I've got to remember to buy some milk today. So all that rubbish stuff that rattles around in the mind, if you spend some time in the morning, and I would suggest that you at least do like an A5, don't do like a big A4 page because it will take you forever, but 3 pages is sufficient to get that out. And after about maybe 3 weeks or so, you'll start to notice a difference in where your thinking becomes clear. Your creative self starts to filter through without actually having to go searching for it. And the critical mind becomes soothed. It is not something that needs to be squished or quashed. It is actually very much a vital part of our personal ecosystem, if you like. It does serve a purpose. However, it does not need to be the loudest voice. It can be listened to, but it doesn't need to rule our life. And oftentimes when we're feeling high anxiety, that critical mind will be the first thing that flies in and throws up all of our fears in our face. And all we're doing is giving a lot of energy to dampen that down, because our sophisticated mind knows that those fears are real. But married with the anxiety, we are not sure. We are never sure or completely sure. By doing the morning pages, you can actually start to dampen that down. And when those critical thoughts do pop up, you can actually see them for what they are. And they are lies. Our mind will do anything to stop us from stepping into something new, including lying to us. I know that's shocking, but that's exactly what it does. So it's not the kindest part of our ecosystem. However, it is still a critical part or a necessary part, but not in the sense it doesn't have to play such a major role. So we can, as I said, it's not, I don't think we can ever shut it out, and I don't think it's healthy to shut it out because it will come out in other ways. However, we can give it a voice by writing things down and say, hey, I'm listening to you, but I'm actually going to make a different decision because I have the experience and knowledge now and research to want to actually override that fear because I know that everything's going to be okay, because you are now tapping into the creative part of you that is actually wider than the critical part of you. It has a far-reaching length and actually connects with like-minded things, and it will build up, that creative space will build up. Whereas the critical mind shoots out calls everywhere, trying to connect to something that is going to justify its criticism or its lie. It will try and hook into something that's going to justify its narrative. It's going to always try and keep you still and keep you in one place. So if you remember that it lies to you, then you can make a choice. Once you become aware of it, and by doing the morning pages, it alerts you to the destructiveness of those thoughts. So once you've done that, I would recommend that you find that book and actually have a look at how Julia writes her explanation of it. It gives a really quite a concise description, because she is a writer and she does it beautifully. And the other reason I like it is because there was another book that I read called The Kaizen Way, which also talks about the critical mind, but it talks about the critical mind in a different way. And again, it's that survival mind. And it talks about it as a child that needs soothing, and by giving that child attention, you're not letting that child run your life, but you are acknowledging it, that it has a voice. But being the adult in the relationship, you actually can override that and say, look, I know, I acknowledge that fear, but I'm going to make the decision because I'm actually the adult, and you don't have the experience that I had in order to make those decisions or to influence those decisions. So it's like if you can marry those two up, you can be a little bit kinder to yourself, because you are actually trying to keep yourself safe. It's just the way that your critical mind or your survival mind is going about it by lying to you is not very healthy. Well, it just ramps up all that anxiety, and by shooting up those cords all the time, you are connecting to energy that you don't really need to have. You're constantly balancing yourself up because you've got other people's thoughts and everything rattling around in you as well. So that's one exercise to help you access your creative self. And when that creative self comes in, of course, you feel much more empowered and much more in control. Now, the other step that to follow on from how to bring about, like manifesting or bring about things in your life, or to actually recognise those helpful things that are going to make your life feel satisfied and whole, is called the anatomy of a creative idea. And I have done this with you guys before, but I want to touch on it again because it's such a great tool. It is such a great thing. It just ties in with everything that I've been talking about today. If we talked earlier about manifesting, if you have your ideas that you've all got worked out and you're not really sure which one is the one that you want to go with, there's a simple exercise that you can do, and I'm going to run through it with you right now. And it's called, as I said, the anatomy of a creative idea. It was first introduced to me through my medical mediumship teacher, Dr. Irene Webster. She showed this to me, and I found it very helpful and very insightful, and connecting to my energy and how I interact with myself. And I can use my way of doing things, which is connecting to my chakras and my feelings, to determine where I'm blocked and how I can actually either work with it or feel comfortable enough to sit with it until it's ready to shift and change. And so, again, it's about being kind to oneself. So the first thing is, when you have a creative idea and when you've wrangled that critical mind and all those lovely things start to pop in, or you've written a list of things that you think you'd like to create in your life or bring forward into your life, you can put that idea into, it comes in through the crown. And so when it comes in through the crown and it just, you can feel your whole self sing, you can feel your whole body sing with it, then you know that that is a valid inspiration, because it gets you excited. It starts the blood pumping, and you can actually feel it up here in the higher self, in the thymus chakra, in the higher self connection. So it doesn't inspire you, excited, will have been it here straight away. You can just, it'll be a throwaway thing. You can cross it off your list and move on to the next thing. If, however, it is inspiring, then that in creative or inspiration will drop down into the third eye. In the third eye, this inspiration or creative idea can go two ways. It can either spin off into what looks like fantasy, and it just becomes bigger than Ben-Hur, and you can't even imagine how you can bring it into fruition because the elements are so either expensive, fantastical, or not even invented yet. Or you can actually see yourself doing it. And part of research that I do with the past life regression therapy, which includes current life regression, is that you can actually use it, you access the third eye part of you to see whether or to confirm for yourself that creative idea is actually a reality. If you're a little bit confused, it doesn't look fantastic, or put you in a bit of clarity, you can use that sort of walkthrough to see yourself doing it. Now, if you're actually clear that you can see yourself doing it and you think, yeah, I feel pretty good about that, and that actually fits really nicely in myself, then that creative idea will then drop down to the next chakra, which is the throat. Now, in that previous video about manifesting, one of the directives of the manifesting is not to discuss your idea with anybody. You are to say it to yourself day and night, but you do not discuss it with anybody else. However, the throat chakra does require that when you actually speak about your idea, that it makes sense to you. So while you do not have to dilute your idea by throwing it out there to here, there and everywhere, elements and aspects of your idea that you may be wanting to hear yourself say, or that you want to share with a confidant or a coach or a mentor, it is about you. You make the decision. You make the call on whether, when you actually speak it or discuss elements of it, does it make sense to you? If it does, then it sits right here and you know that it's right. It'll make, because everything just makes perfect sense and it all goes click, 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 click. If it doesn't make any sense to you, then the creative idea will be abandoned here. Same as if it doesn't make sense up here, it becomes abandoned here and it doesn't go any further. And then you'll know that you don't really want to go forward. But if it does actually make sense to you, then that idea will drop into the heart. But when you connect to your heart, we have to pay homage to, what's her name, that lady, the thing that sparks joy, Marie Kondo, that you use that same principle. You take this idea, it's in your heart. Does it spark joy? Does it make your heart open and does it make it sing? It doesn't have to. If it doesn't, it just means that you don't love it. And it's okay not to love an idea. An idea might be absolutely fantastic and make all the sense in the world, but it might not be your idea. And then you can actually, if it's not your idea that you love, it could be an idea that you could sell to somebody, set up and sell. However, if it's something that you absolutely love, it is necessary to actually love it, because when you come across hurdles, when you come across blockages, or when you come across barriers to moving forward in your creative idea, if you don't love it, you're not going to be able to overcome that negativity, or, the critical mind's going to start kicking in again. It's going to try and get the little foothold in. It's the love and the certainty that is in your heart that overcomes those hurdles and those barriers. So this is a very important chakra to focus on. If you know that, if you've done all the other steps and you want to just go straight to your heart, by all means do that, because that'll cut through a lot of speculation about whether there's something that you want to move forward on. So if you love this idea and you know that you love it and it makes your heart sing and open, then that idea drops into the solar plexus. Now, in the solar plexus, you begin to see, okay, how can I bring all of these elements together to make this a reality? Now, it doesn't mean to say that you have to have all the money to make it happen. It doesn't mean to say that you have to have everything on hand. But if you can start planning out and see for sure that you can even draw the elements together to make a start. If you don't, you might have a long-term vision, and you might have that you can, in the short term, you can draw all those elements in together, or even if you can, the long-term vision can actually happen, and you know that you can make it a reality. And there's a part of you that's not, I can't do it because I don't do this, or I can't do it because I can't do that. If your solar plexus is actually problem-solving around all those physical elements, and you know that you can pull it together, then that idea is going to spark. if you are making excuses, or I can't do it, it means that it's going to be stuck here in the heart until you can actually see how you can bring it together in the physical world. It doesn't mean to say that you don't love it. It just means it's not time. So if it's not time, it may be abandoned in that solar plexus area and not go forward. But if you can say, yeah, I can pull this all together, then that idea will drop into the sacral chakra. Now, when I did this exercise, the last two chakras were the ones that really stuck with me, because all the other stuff I'd already done, right? When it came to my business, when it came to my creative ventures, it always got stuck here at the sacral chakra. So when the idea, I didn't abandon my idea, I just let it sit there, right? So it doesn't always have to be chucked out. It just means that it might not be the right time. So don't ever think, oh, it's such a good idea, I have to let it go. No, I'm not saying let it go. It just means that you might have to shelve it for a bit while you concentrate on other things, because it will come back to you. And I know that because that's my lived experience. And I've already bored you enough with my stories, but it does actually happen that way. So we've dropped our idea into the sacral chakra, and that is when you can actually explain what you do, and you can interact with somebody and build a rapport with confidence, your creative idea. You can say, you know what, like for me, I can say to somebody now, well, I am actually a good reader because it's proven, and I feel very good when I'm doing it. I feel quite confident when I'm doing my readings, my healings, and my coaching. I have no doubts anymore. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't worry every time that I'm going to get it wrong. I'm not going to say, I'm absolutely perfect, that I don't have doubts around it, because every time I pick up the deck of cards or see the next client, I know there's like, oh, is everyone going to be here for me? That's always there. But that gets shushed away pretty quickly. But when you are talking about what it is that you love to do, and you know that it works and you know that it's special, how can you communicate that to somebody who that you know is going to benefit from it? Or how do you make that, because the sacral chakra is all about those personal relationships, that connection that says, you know what, I can actually really connect with you. I feel that connection with you, and I know that what I can show you, or what I can share with you, is going to enhance your life as well, because not only do I feel it, but I can feel it for you as well. So articulating that on a one-to-one personal basis, we often get caught in that, because it's the area of self-worth. Am I worthy enough? Am I good enough? Have I learned enough? Do I have enough experience? All that sort of thing. I don't want to charge money. I shouldn't be charging money. I have to charge money. All those sorts of things, because this is where what did Irene used to call it, love, power, money, and sex. That's that area of when we actually talk about it, we are exposing a vulnerability, our self-worth, right? So sitting in that space there, we are actually saying, hey, this is what I do. I really think that what I do can help you. I'm going to open up my energy to you and show you what I have on offer for you to judge me. Oh my God. I was pushed through it, but that was always a really big scary thing. And I would have times where it wouldn't be an issue, and then other times where it would just floor me. I really had to wait it out, and I don't know what changed, but one day something shifted, and all of a sudden it didn't really matter anymore, because I sat in the fact that I absolutely love what I do, and when I do it, I feel good, and the people I share it with, they actually get the benefit from it as well. So I don't really have to convince anybody of anything. I'm actually sharing that part of myself, and I'm happy to share it. And anyone who recognises that energy will come closer to me and want to share that with me as well. I do not have to sell myself. I am sharing myself, and that's what the sacral chakra is all about, is building those sharing relationships. It doesn't get abandoned, and you can't do this because of your self-worth. That's abandonment. Then it will drop into the base chakra. Now, the base chakra is a whole other animal there. So you are then releasing your idea into the wider world, which is very much what I'm doing here today, and what I do on Spiritual Events Directory, and what I do on Facebook Live and my YouTube and so on and so forth. Every time I create something and release it into the wider world, I am activating base chakra energy, because what I'm doing is I'm creating a community through a sharing of my ideas, my ideals, my Vicki, I like the way that you are. I like your energy. I like the way you think. I'd like to share that with you. I'd like to share something of me with you, and I'd like you to share something of you with me. I can only liken the base chakra energy to somebody who has done a painting, and they have absolute control over the interpretation of that painting until it's completed. And once it's completed and sold or on the wall for the public to see, it is then open. It is no longer in their control. And when I go onto into the public arena, I no longer have control about how people see me. I no longer have control about their reactions or their comments about me, and I have no longer have any control about what they say about me when I'm gone. And not that I ever had that control, but my illusion is that I had control, and if I don't activate the base chakra part of me, then I'll never know. So I did have a lot of trouble about releasing that into the wild, releasing what I do into the wild, because, there are trolls out there, and there are people who are not as kind. Thankfully, I don't know what it is, what happened. I sat with it, and I allowed that to heal, and I didn't abandon it. I knew that it was a valid thing, and I let it sit there, and it eventually healed itself, and eventually moved on, whatever it is that I needed to feel better within myself with, and all of a sudden, it just went click, 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 all fell into place, and now I'm able to do it without any hesitation at all. In fact, I love it, regardless of whether I've got an audience or don't. I still put it out there because I feel like I want to just shout it out to the world, all the lovely things that I've experienced, and I just want to share it. You might not see it right now, but you might see it, in 5 weeks' time or 5 days' time or 5 years' time, and it doesn't matter because it will speak to you then when you're ready to hear it. So I also wanted to add that process that I talked about, the morning page, is very much a very good thing. To look up the Julia Cameron book, The Artist's Way, and this little exercise. There is no reason why you need to push yourself into anything. And this exercise is a way, it's not about, I've got to fix this because it sort of sits here. What I learned about it, I can't say that I didn't try and fix it. I've got to fix this. What I learned about it was that it is a part of me that is ready to evolve, and I'm just becoming aware of it. It's like, okay, instead of saying, oh, Vicki, you're not doing enough, blah, 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 it's like, okay, my base chakra is still out of balance there with it. I know that it's a good idea, but it's just not the right time for me just yet. But I'm not going to abandon it. I'm just going to let it sit there for a bit until it does feel okay. Instead of giving myself a hard time and saying, you should be doing this and you should be doing that, because that's what all the external voices are saying, and my critical mind is saying to me, I was kind to myself and said, you know what, I'm going to sit here until I'm ready to do it, because I know that I just knew that it was a good thing because it sat right in my heart. So if you, thanks for joining me, and see you next week. With love, bye.